who I am? I am Boba Fett.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
The Book of Boba Fett actor Temuera Morrison is worried about the future of his character going forward in any Star Wars projects. Its 2021 release on Disney Plus left many fans wanting more, and were even kind of disappointed by some of the direction choices made in the Book of Boba Fett Disney Plus show. Temuera Morrison had starred as the iconic bounty hunter Boba after appearing as the character in The Mandalorian, and almost 20 years after playing Jango Fett in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Not to mention that, of course, he's the face of all of the clones throughout Star Wars in live action. The miniseries of the Book of Boba Fett had peeled the curtain back, maybe too far, on Boba Fett as a character, and Temuera Morrison has even admitted that it's time to get him back to his badass ways. This here all being said, in recent news, Temuera Morrison is set to save his character of Boba Fett in the future Star Wars. While recently appearing at London Film and Comic-Con, Boba Fett actor Temuera Morrison confirmed that he was popping by LA to see what's happening in the galaxy. And of course, his reason for popping by Lucasfilm in LA is to make sure that they're not going to put his character on a shelf, according to the Boba Fett star. As Temuera Morrison says in full quote, "Well, this is why I was gonna pop in, to see what's going on, and to make sure that they're not gonna put me on a shelf. We can't have that, right? There's been plenty of time to be put on the shelf, right?" Ending that quote right there. For one thing, of course, it's very clear and cut that Temuera Morrison really cares about Star Wars, just overall. He cares about being involved with it. He has a true passion, a true desire for it, and especially for his character of Boba Fett. And I think really somewhere in between appearing and popping up in The Mandalorian Season 2, reprising that Star Wars role, and somewhere with the Book of Boba Fett, he's really become that character and has really loved playing that character. However, though, I should also remind you that he hasn't necessarily been completely away from Lucasfilm or from Star Wars overall since then, and since the Book of Boba Fett. He has appeared in The Mandalorian Season 3 as the voices of the clone troopers in the flashback sequences of how Grogu survives Order 66, and also appears as a homeless clone trooper in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. He is really after coming back to the forefront, if for anything, and wanting to come back as Boba Fett overall. Also, seeing that the Mandalorian Season 3 and the Obi-Wan Kenobi show had kind of filmed those sequences, those short sequences, quite a while back at that point. He hasn't really heard much from Disney or from Lucasfilm about coming back to reprise that role, specifically of Boba Fett. And so also prior to confirming that he will be meeting about the future of Boba Fett in the Star Wars galaxy, specifically probably with the Mandoverse, Temuera Morrison expressed interest in portraying Captain Rex, an animated character that would share the same counter as Boba Fett, as he's a clone. This is something that he had recently said quite some time back now. This isn't from the same interview that was more recent about him going to pay a visit to Lucasfilm in their headquarters in LA, but much rather this is something that he had said a couple of months ago back. He is for sure, fingers crossed, more than likely pulling our leg on this one, and is hopefully set to appear as Captain Rex some way or another for the Ahsoka show. If it's like a small tidbit of a like a hologram, or if it's a full-fledged like appearance and everything like that, and actually has like a very prominent role, is something that's up in the air and just isn't something that's necessarily known. As he says in that quote, "I'd actually love to bring Captain Rex alive. Of course, I would love to. I would love to do that." Ending that quote right there, just really expressing his passionate desire to be involved in the Star Wars universe overall, and the fact of Captain Rex coming to live action. This kind of feels like something of a tease, though, if for anything, and it is something that we had talked about and covered here on the channel a while back. Again, this is something that he had mentioned a couple of months ago at this point, and is not a part of that same interview and that same time that he was speaking about paying a visit to Lucasfilm about Boba Fett and the return of that character. So, of course, it is no secret that Boba Fett was missing from The Mandalorian Season 3. This is something that was widely talked about amongst the Star Wars fans, and one of the many kind of disappointing things with The Mandalorian Season 3. One of the biggest disappointing things. It was really one of my only biggest bummers with The Mandalorian Season 3. Although, after appearing in The Mandalorian Season 2, and then also having his own show, where was he in The Mandalorian Season 3? It's something that just doesn't necessarily make sense. Previously, Boba Fett director Robert Rodriguez, who had directed the book of Boba Fett, said that he can't say whether Boba will return, but he apparently says that he knows all of the answers. So there seems to hopefully be some type of plan here in the future for Boba Fett to appear and to come back. And yes, this is something that we had discussed here on the channel recently, as Robert Rodriguez had teased this, as that he does know all of the answers of what's going on with Boba Fett. I think it really just boils down to that he signed an NDA contract, isn't able to or allowed to really speak on much of this. It's kind of odd, I think, though, at the same time, and bizarre that they're keeping Temuera Morrison in the dark. Like, he genuinely seems like he doesn't know like what's going on with this character or the future of the role, or any of his involvement with Lucasfilm and Disney for that matter, regarding any future Star Wars projects, unfortunately. So, aligning the recent news that Disney will be producing fewer Star Wars projects, as that's another thing that we had recently discussed here on the channel, I don't necessarily believe that 110%. Go check that video out for all of my thoughts and details on that. Temuera Morrison was previously told that there'd be a few cutbacks, which was another thing that we had talked about here on the channel into the regards of Boba Fett, and I think a lot of people took that out of context. It was kind of said that during that Temuera Morrison was acting very sarcastically during that interview is kind of what was going on, because after he had learned of these news that Disney was apparently going to do a couple of cutbacks, he kind of responded in a sarcastic sounding mad type of way when he really wasn't. But yes, the whole thing with cutbacks seems to be true, coming from Temuera Morrison himself. Now, the possibility for Temuera Morrison to appear in future Star Wars projects should be promising, fingers crossed. Considering his face is the model for every live-action clone trooper made on Kamino, there's plenty of other Star Wars projects for the overall actor Temuera Morrison to appear in. As I had mentioned, Captain Rex for the Ahsoka show, fingers crossed. I mean, come on, we're right around the corner for Ahsoka, and I'm really hoping that is the case. I really hope that that does actually happen. And so on top of that, with the upcoming crossover film directed by Dave Filoni, Temuera Morrison will likely reprise his role as Boba Fett or another character like Captain Rex. Very likely, very big possibility at that, with Dave Filoni in charge of that, sometime on Disney Plus or on the big screen. So it doesn't seem that all ties are necessarily cut right now. He's investigating into it, and he's looking into it. It seems that there is a plan for Boba Fett as an overall character in the future of Star Wars. We just have to wait and see and keep our fingers crossed. I was disappointed that nothing was officially announced at Star Wars Celebration this past year. There is San Diego Comic-Con. I'm not necessarily sure with all the updates that's been going on for that, so I'll have another video talking about that. And of course, we're talking about and keeping you guys updated with all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of that, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and join us here on the channel today, guys. Of course, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. What do you think about Temuera Morrison as Boba Fett and returning in the near future? What do you want to see with the character, and what do you want to see with his overall role? What kind of show would you want to see Temuera Morrison pop up in as a clone trooper, Boba Fett, Captain Rex? I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. Have a great one. This has been Unofficial Star Wars. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.